Man, swimming's hard. Back in January, I put out a video asking why my swim sucks so much. And Andrew Sheaff, a swim coach and, pretty well credentialed swim expert, responded. I was pretty happy to see that. And so he and I got on a Zoom call. He analyzed my swim and he gave me a few pointers. Check it out right here.
All right, so let's take a look at what we're seeing from the side. So the first thing that I really see is that your body position is pretty good. Heads and hip are kind of in line with the surface, and you're not doing a whole lot to have to kick to really work to keep those up. And so that's one of the things that most people struggle with the most. So that's a really good start from that perspective. And if you don't really fix that issue, it becomes really difficult to fix everything else, because that's kind of like the foundation of which you build everything. So that's a good start. So the biggest thing I see from this angle is that we'll just kind of pay attention to the right arm. And so it's kind of dropping through the front end of it. And you're doing a really good job. You're doing a really good job. So let's back up here. So like from here back, like you can see that's a pretty good surface area with the arm, and you're really accelerating it through the back. And that's pretty good there. So
you're talking about mainly my forearm?
Yeah. So like the forearm and through the hand, it's all kind of pointing straight back, and then it's right there. It's kind of moving straight back with some good speed, which is good. A lot of people, they're just all hand the entire time. And so that's good there, or they're not accelerating their hand and they're just kind of pretty static. And so you're doing a good job with that.
So we're looking at the whole forearm as the paddle, basically, right?
Right. And so if you watch here, you're not really getting into that position till almost there. And so I think what it could be is just a little bit more patience in the front. And the other thing to kind of pay attention to is that, so right here, the arm's kind of moving back, and it's not really moving back with the body. So it's almost like when you pull here, you want it to be timed up with the rotation. And so you can kind of see the rotation happen right there at the end. You kind of want that to happen a little bit earlier here. And
so the rotation should happen sooner?
Yeah, it should happen kind of like in line with the big pull right there is kind of where you want to be.
I see.
Earlier than that. And so
does that mean I'm using my shoulders more than my hips or my body for rotation?
No, it's more of a time. You're rotating enough. It's more of a timing thing. And so like it's almost you're not getting the benefit out of it because it's not happening at the right time. And so one of the things that I really like to do for that is underwater recovery freestyle, because it forces you to move the shoulders and the arms in sync, and it's pretty hard to do it wrong, I guess. And so I really, especially like kind of in an online context, I really like to pick things that are kind of almost error proof, that really put you in the right positions. And so that's one of the things that I find really effective, is that it tends to help people's shoulders and arms kind of sync up. Because what happens is, so you reach and then you're going to naturally rotate. But as you reach with this arm, you're naturally rotating when you pull back, and it usually tends to happen at the right time.
I see.
So it's almost a simple version of freestyle, but because it's simple, it's still pretty much the same thing, but it puts you in a position where you're more likely to be successful.
Okay.
And then the other thing with the arm pull is getting the forearm involved a little bit earlier is a pretty counterintuitive, or it's not a natural movement for humans, because we don't do anything like that on land. And so what can be really helpful is there's another drill. It's called wall pull, and you basically just put your arms on the side of a pool or whatever it is. Your whole forearm is flat, and you just feel that pressure, and you just kind of push into it, and you can kind of get the feeling, and then you can practice like going lower so that it happens up higher. And it's like you can't really do it wrong, but it gives you a great feeling for what you're trying to accomplish. And between those two exercises, it can be really helpful to get the big picture of what you're trying to accomplish, as opposed to like thinking I need to get my arm at whatever 90 degrees. Like I just made up that number, but like that doesn't mean anything, especially when you're kind of trying to figure out these things on your own. So when you can get put in positions where you can feel it, it can make a big difference. All right, so we'll take a look at the left side now, and you're going to see that it's pretty similar. So again, when we get to here, you're in a pretty solid position coming through the back, but it's not quite as good in the front. Now, what's happening on this side a little bit is, so here you're breathing on this side, and what people tend to do when they breathe, if the breath's a little big, the arm kind of is out there trying to stabilize, and what it usually does is it ends up dropping. So
Right. Because you're wasting time breathing.
Yeah, yep. And so again, it's that timing thing. You're still rotated to the right, but your arm's still moving until you're almost through the stroke before you finish rotating. And so what you want to try to do, part of it's the breath, and then it's just kind of a learned habit too, is getting the head back down fast so you can start rotating back to get the arm in position.
I see. So finish my breath sooner so
Yeah.
that my arm doesn't linger in this dead zone up front.
Right. Well, and in some ways it's not even lingering. It keeps moving, but your body's not getting back into position to take advantage of it. So it ends up kind of really doing a whole lot because it's just, it's just drifting down. Like it's rolling, it's moving through, but your body's kind of delayed because you've got that breath hanging out there.
I see. So I should be twisted more to my right.
You should almost be flat at this point. Yep.
Okay.
And then once you get into the power of the meat of the pull, which is right where you're about to be at, you're almost rotating back to the other side. And so it's all these timing things that like, and with the breath, you can think about what that arm's doing all you want, but until the breath gets fixed, you'll never be in the right positions. And so that's what's tough about a lot of these skills is a lot of them aren't that complicated, but if you're not working on the right ones at the right time, it can be really difficult. And so like I mentioned the body position earlier, if your body position was a mess, you'd be doing everything you can to do with your arms to try to stabilize. And so we can't work on your pull because that's not the right problem because but because you do have that, you have taken care of the body position stuff. It's not a problem. But if it had been, it's just an example of not working on the right thing at the right time. And you'll always be frustrated if that's the case.
So body position is really a limiter or a choke point for lots of people.
Right. Because if you don't have it down, everything you do is about trying to
is irrelevant.
Yeah, right. Because you're doing everything you can to kick to try to keep your legs up, and your arms are doing everything to create stability. So like you can't work on your pull because you're trying to do two things at once, and the stability thing too. And so again, with the breathing here, it's another example is that if you were to try to really focus on fixing the arm but not address the breath, it's just like running uphill. You're never gonna be able to make that progress.
Gotcha. So the takeaway here is breathe faster or finish my breath sooner.
Yep. And I'm going to show you one of the other videos. It'll be easier to see. We'll talk more specifically about the breath because you'll see more of the impact of it. But again, that's going to be something to work on, but still with the pull here, it's that same thing with the timing and the position and those two other exercises we talked about on the last frame, the underwater recovery and the wall pull. That's going to make a big difference. Okay. So we'll take a look at it from the front. And so like we mentioned in the other one, so you can see here, you're pulling pretty much straight back and that part looks good. And then again, that hand path is pretty much straight back. There's going to be a little bit of in and a little bit of out, which is what you want to see. And that looks good. Now, what we want to watch here is, so right now that head's coming straight towards the camera, which is good because, I think you want going straight through the water. The more it's going up and down or side to side, that's just, extra drag. Now watch as we come forward, out goes that head. It goes to the side.
Okay.
So, right there. And so that might be part of what's taken so long is that it's not a direct path, but you want to it's got to be a swivel as opposed to a
wow. And
now watch the other thing too. It's not just a breath thing and a drag thing, but so watch what the arm's going to do. The arm's, the head's attached to the shoulders and the shoulders attached to the arm. So arm's coming with it, and that's going to come more across your body than you want it to. And then it's going to be out of position a little bit, and then it's going to kind of come back. But if it can be straight ahead too, that's what you want.
Wow, this is really good, Andrew. I mean, I had never ever noticed or known that my head did this kind of sideways swivel, not swivel, but sideways snaking, which brings, and your body follows your head, right?
Right. And so the shoulders are going to go with the head, but we're in water, you're suspended. So the hips are going the opposite way. You can see them shoot to the opposite way. And now all of a sudden back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And, most people have probably seen those people in a pool where they're literally wiggling all over the place. And that's obviously, a total train wreck, but it doesn't take much to really slow you down. And so even something that, relatively speaking, isn't that dramatic here, it can make a big difference.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, it's going to have knock-on effects on that arm too, because, where the head goes, the shoulder goes, and the arms are going where the shoulders go. And
so is this related? If this is related to my breathing, is this 2 in 1 in a way? Like the last one you showed me and this one, are they connected? If I could solve it, could it solve both?
Yeah. And so now watch the other thing too is, so you're coming to the side and then you're rotating. Look how much you get. See, you're almost vertical on your body here. Rotation's good, but you want to do as little as possible to get the benefits out of it. And this is more than you'd want to be doing ideally. And so if you can not need to do that with the breath and watch the other side. So this is the other side of the rotation, that's probably where you need to be. And then compare that to that, which is probably more than you need to be. So
I'm at a 90-degree angle versus a 40-degree angle.
Right. Exactly. And 40,
and why do I want to spin so much? Why?
No. For whatever that's what it feels like you need to do to breathe for some reason. And so I think if you were to just rotate versus pulling to the side, that would probably make that. I think that has something to do with it. You're pulling your head out of a position that you're going to need to rotate more to get a breath. So the solution for this, because obviously you even said it, you had no idea you were doing this. And so
no,
thinking about it is not going to work because you're not going to be able to feel it. So the thing that I found to be most effective is you take a paddle and you put it on the crown of your head and you start swimming. And if you do that paddle's coming right off. It's one of the most frustrating things in the world to start with. But the good thing is that it's instant feedback. It, and you're not like, did I do it enough or did I not do it enough? If the paddle stays on your head when you breathe, you're good. If it doesn't, you're not. And so what some people try it once, they can't do it, and they're just like, I can't do this, and they give up. And so the first thing to do is, can you just try to swim with it and not have it come off and don't even worry about breathing. Maybe that's like 10 strokes. That's fine. And then it's like, can you just take a little half breath and like a little sneak breath or not even get any air, but just turn your head a little bit and not have it come off? That might, maybe it, and this might sound like it's a lot of time, but really it's not. It might take a month to figure out how to do it, but it's fixed once you figure out how to do it. And you don't need someone standing there being like, nope, that's not enough. Nope, that's not enough. Nope, that's not enough. And it's right. I think that's
it's immediate feedback, objective, immediate, no BS.
Right. And that's for people that are training by themselves, which is, most people. And even if you have a coach, like, and the coach is watching you practice, it's probably not one-on-one. And even if it is, like, they're not going to just tell you every single time if it's right or not. Okay. So this is over the water. And so what's interesting about when you watch it from different angles is that you can see the breathing a little bit here, but it's not as dramatic as when you watched it kind of front on. And you're not lifting the head either, which is good, because that's a mistake a lot of other people make, is that they lift the head really high to breathe. And that's going to send, it's equal and opposite reactions. The head comes up, the hips go down. And so that's a good thing there too. So the one thing I want to look at is, so we talked about kind of the timing of the rotation. So you can see that there's not, like right here, you can kind of see the shoulder, and it's kind of staying still, and the arm's moving through pretty good, and you get pretty much halfway through the stroke before there's a real rotation. And so that's kind of what we talked about earlier, is really timing that a little bit better.
So the rotation needs to be where?
It needs to be a little bit, or the rotation needs to be earlier and the stroke needs to be later. So like right when you're getting to the pull here, that's when you really want to be switching to the other side as you kind of pull through there. So it's almost like the arm's out in front, you start your pull, and then you kind of pull through and rotate to the other side as you pull, as opposed to here, it's more of a pull and then a rotation. And that's just going to be you're just going to get more at it's just a little bit, it's a stronger position, and you're just in the right, your arm's in the right position to do more effective work, more or less.
Okay.
The problem, so again, the problem with the timing things are they're super subtle, and there's not like really distinct landmarks. And so that's why I like exercises like the underwater recovery, because it kind of almost forces you to do the right timing. And if I were try to explain exactly what it is, I don't like, it's very difficult to explain. I don't even know if I could, I don't know if there is a precise timing, and equally, it's really difficult to understand it when someone's trying to explain it to you. It's like so many movements in sport, like they have to be almost felt to really, really understood. And that's why some of those exercises that really help you feel it can be really effective.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then, so the one other thing that I want to mention, especially so with this right arm, this is going to be more of something to think about. To me, you're recovering with the hand as opposed to the arm. So you can kind of almost see how you pick the hand up and you pull it forward, as opposed to almost thinking about the arm coming forward and the hands along for the ride. And so it might be easier to think about bringing the, it's not that you need to have like a high elbow, but the elbow is pulling everything forward. And I think that will help you be a little bit more fluid. So if you watch, hand comes out and you're almost picking the hand out of the water, the elbow is kind of coming, pushing the hand forward. And I think that's going to make it a little bit more robotic. And so if you can think about really just trying to like get the arm up, and it doesn't matter, the hand can be higher than the elbow, but it's more of just like getting the whole thing forward as opposed to just the hand.
Because my upper arm's barely even moving. It's just
right
staying at the top of the water. It's not it's not pulling my shoulder forward.
Yeah, right. And so, with a lot of people that come to swimming later in life, they don't always have the mobility to have, like, you see some of these people that have been swimming their whole lives, and they're just going to have this like effortless thing because they've got all sorts of, joint range of motion in their shoulders, both from training and both because, there's a reason they're good at swimming, and that's part of it. Just like some people are good at running for certain, structural reasons. And so a lot of people aren't going to have super mobile shoulders, but pulling the hand is going to make it a lot more robotic than it needs to be. And so certain people are never going to, have super relaxed recoveries if their shoulders aren't super mobile, but that doesn't mean they can improve by trying to kind of think of the whole arm moving as opposed to just the hand.
Okay.
And so this is pretty similar to the other video. You can see the breath there a little bit more, right? It's kind of sliding out. And so it's just from the same thing. But again, with the recoveries, it's kind of picking the hands up and then putting them forward, I think, is the biggest thing. And again, with the rotation thing, so you're on your side here and you're pulling, and then you kind of get, you're almost on your pole and you're flat. You almost kind of want to be towards the other side already. And so I think, again, it's the underwater recovery one is really good at helping you feel that, but it's more about getting the rotation going a little bit earlier. And so when you're getting through the meat of the pole, that's kind of when you want to be rotating to the other side.
So should my left be down a little bit more at this point?
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yep. And so you kind of like, you see how you rotate to get the arm out of the water right there. And like, that's going to be a pretty powerful movement. You kind of want that happening from like here all the way through. Just get a little bit more oomph out of it, and it'll probably make it a little bit easier to recover your arms too. The one thing, if you want to think about, it's pretty subtle detail, but like right here, I think you're kind of pinky first. I think you just want to be straight flat in. Yeah.
And look at my thumb. It's like straight up.
Well, so there'll be some people that swim like that. And there's there's a book about, it's actually a pretty old swimming book. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but it's like hand postures of like Olympic champions. And like, there's all sorts of stuff. Like people are doing they're doing this. Like it's a pretty individual thing. I don't know that I would worry about it too much, but I think you want to get pretty flat.
Yeah. Pinky first is not ideal. It should be palm first, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The big concept with pulling is how much surface area can you get, and you want it straight back for as long as possible. There's all these kind of pretty complicated ways to describe it, but really it's just like, get as much as you can, get it moving back, and get it moving pretty fast. And that's really what you're looking for.
And the side of the hand is definitely not where it's going to come from.
Right. And if we went back to the other video, you end up, and you can kind of see it here, you get it in better position by the time it's actually time to pull. But you're also,
there's no point.
Yeah. Right. And if you can make it more of a habit, that's definitely what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, kind of a big picture recap, I think the breathing, the more you can clean that up, that'll make fixing other things easier.
Right.
And getting used to using the whole arm a little bit earlier, and then just timing it up a little bit better with the rotation. I think those are 3 things that sound pretty simple, but are pretty impactful. And they're also not particularly nuanced or difficult to fix either.
Right. So the big one I'm going to look at then is, there's the wall push, the paddle on the head, and the paddle on the head should solve the breathing to some degree. And those are like really tangible things for me to understand and to address. The other things are harder for me to grasp or measure.
So I think the underwater recovery one, you can try it and just try to play with it. And you'll probably sooner or later fall into something, but I think you don't have to try to think about what I'm trying to fix. If you can get into a rhythm with it, you're almost certainly doing it right. So this is the underwater exercise we're talking about. And so you can see he's just recovering his arms forward, and when he recovers forward, he naturally rotates forward. And then as you recover the arm forward, you're naturally pulling back forward, and so it's going to be in the right position. And so you can see how, let me see if I can slow this down a little bit. So watch how he pulls back here. He's pulling back as he rotates. You can probably see it even better from this angle. And so it's just reach forward, and you're just going to go from side to side. And it's almost like ice skating kind of.
Yep.
And
that's how it feels.
Yep. That's how it should feel. Yeah. So if you time that with this, it's going to feel just back and forth. And you try to find a rhythm with it. And then what you can do to implement that is you just do maybe one lap of the underwater recovery, and then that kind of sets the rhythm. And then you just swim a 25 regular freestyle, and you try to recreate the same rhythm. And so it's basically pretty simple like that. You just kind of get the feel of it, and then you try to carry it over. And the same thing with the paddle cap freestyle is you do, once you get the hang of it, then it's all right. I just got to make it feel the same way when I swim freestyle. And the same thing with the wall pull. It's like, I just want those same sensations, and you just keep doing it over and over and over again. And whenever you need a reminder, you just take the reminder, and sooner or later, you're going to start to feel it.
Excellent. So the underwater recovery will basically fix my rotation and make it more,
the timing.
And then obviously,
the
timing, and obviously the paddle will fix the swerving of the head. And then the wall push is really to understand the tactile feel of the position the arms need to be in.
Correct. And
pretty big thanks.
What's cool is that you feel the position the arms are going to be in, and you also get the feeling of how to push straight back too, which is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Excellent. I think this is super helpful. I'm excited to actually put it into practice.
Right. Cool.